What is Git? Imagine you're working on a project, maybe a website or app. As you keep changing your code, you might feel scared. What if I break something? What if I want to go back to the older version? What if I need to see what changes I made yesterday? Git is a version control system. It helps you save different versions of your project, track changes, go back to older versions, work with others without messing up each other's code. Think of Git as a time machine for your code. What is GitHub? GitHub is not Git. GitHub is a cloud platform where you store your Git repositories online. It allows you to share your projects with the world, collaborate with others, and keep backup in the cloud. Difference between Git and GitHub. Git works on your computer. GitHub works on the internet. You may think how they work together. You created a project on your computer. You track it using Git, then push it to GitHub to store it online. To get started, you need to download and install Xcode and Git for better understanding. I will provide a link in the description box. From there you can download it. If you don't know how to install it, you can check the description for clear installation. To check whether Git is installed and path is set or not, open command prompt or git bash after installation of Git. Type Git version. If it shows the Git version, then Git is successfully installed and is on path. Let's set up your Git username and email. These details are important because Git uses them to label your work, just like a signature on your art. First, open your terminal and type git config global user.name your username, git config global user.email your email. This sets your default Git username and email on your system. To check if Git saved them correctly, run git config global list. Here, you'll see your username and email listed along with other Git configurations. If your name and email appear here, your Git setup is complete. That's all. Your Git identity is now ready, and every commit you make will be properly tagged. Setting up Git on your system requires configuring your username and email, so every commit you make is labeled correctly. Let's begin by opening the terminal inside Visual Studio Code. Here, we'll enter the first command to set the username. Type git config global user.name your username. Replace your username with the name you want Git to use. Typically, this should match your GitHub username, so your commits link properly to your account. Next, we'll set the email address that Git will attach to all future commits. Type git config global user.email your email. Make sure this is the same email you use on GitHub. If the email is different, your contributions may not appear on your GitHub profile. Once both commands are entered, Git will store these values as your global identity. This means every repository on your system will use this username and email unless you manually change them for a specific project. Now let's verify everything. To check if Git has saved your details, type git config global list. This shows all global Git settings on your machine. In the output, look for the lines that say user.name and user.email. You should see your username beside user.name and your email beside user.email. If they appear correctly, your Git identity is set up successfully. Sometimes you may want to remove your Git username or email and set it again. To delete a Git configuration value, we use the unset command. First, to remove your global username, type git config global unset user.name. And to remove your global email, type git config global unset user.email. After unsetting, you can check with git config global list. If the username and email lines are gone, the values have been successfully removed. You can now set new details using the usual git config commands. Now you can add a new username by typing git config global user.name your new username. Finally, check if everything updated correctly. Git config global list. Here, you should now see your new username and email listed. If they appear correctly, your Git identity has been successfully updated. Inside this Git example folder, I have 4 simple text files. There's file1.txt, file2.txt, file3.txt, and one more file that I'll be using to show changes. This folder will be our sample project for learning Git. Each of these files represents a different piece of work, and Git will track every change we make inside this folder. When we initialize Git, all these files become part of the repository. Git will start watching them, so whenever we edit, delete, or add new files, Git will record those changes as part of the project history. This small setup helps us understand how Git tracks files, detects modifications, and prepares them for staging and committing. That's all. This is our simple Git example folder where we'll start practicing version control. First, I'm creating a new folder inside my local drive. I'm naming this folder Git example. This is the folder where we will practice all our Git commands. Now I'll open this folder in Visual Studio Code. And inside it, I'm creating 3 files, file1.txt, file2.txt, file3.txt. These files will help us understand how Git tracks changes inside a project. Checking if Git is installed. Next, I'm opening Git Bash directly inside VS Code. The first thing we always check is whether Git is installed on our system. So I type git version. If you see a version number, like git 2.x.x, then Git is installed correctly. Inside this folder, we have a few normal files, file1.txt, file2.txt, and file3.txt. At this point, this is just a regular folder on your computer, nothing related to Git yet. But the moment you run the command git init, Git creates a hidden folder called .git inside your project. This .git folder is the heart of your repository. It stores all the information Git needs, your commit history, branches, staging area, and every snapshot of your work. From the outside, nothing looks different, but internally the folder is now officially a Git repository. So step 1 is simple. Choose a project folder, run git init, and Git initializes this hidden .git directory. Everything you track, commit, or restore later is stored inside this folder. That's the purpose of the .git folder. It's Git's entire brain living inside your project. Step 1, initialize Git. Now let's check if Git is already initialized inside our folder. For that, I use git status. Git shows that this folder is not a Git repository. So let's initialize Git using git init. Now Git creates a hidden folder named .git, which stores all Git data. To confirm this, I type the command as you see on the screen. This shows all files, including hidden ones, and we can now see the .git folder. Then I run git status again. Git status. This time Git tells us that our 3 files are untracked. This means Git knows these files exist, but it is not tracking them yet. Unhiding the .git folder. By default, VS Code hides the .git folder. If you want to see it, go to Settings, search for Exclude, and remove the line that contains /.git. Now the .git folder becomes visible in your Explorer. Remember, this is where Git stores all your project history. Inside this folder, we have a few text files. Right now, Git doesn't track any of them. They are just normal files sitting inside the project. When we run the command git init, Git creates a hidden folder called .git. This is the heart of your repository. It stores your commit history, staging information, and every version Git manages. After initialization, the folder becomes a Git repository, but the files are still untracked. Here you can see file 2.txt and file 3.txt shown in red. These are untracked files, which means Git sees them, but has not started following them yet. To tell Git which files we want to track, we use the git add command. This moves files from the working directory into the staging area. For example, git add file 1.txt. After running this, file 1.txt turns green in the diagram. Green means the file is staged. Git is now tracking it and it's ready to be committed. Untracked files remain in red until you add them. Tracked or staged files appear in green. So the steps are simple. Step 1. Run git init to create a Git repository. Step 2. Use git add to move files into the staging area. Once files are staged, they're ready for your next commit. Step 2. Add a file to staging area. Let's start tracking our first file. To add file 1.txt to the staging area, I type git add file 1.txt. Now check the status again. Git status. This shows file 1.txt is now staged, while file 2 and file 3 are still untracked. The staging area means Git is ready to save this file in the next commit. Inside our Git example folder, we have multiple files. Some files are being tracked by Git, and some are not. The green files represent tracked files, meaning they have already been added to the staging area. The red ones are untracked files, which Git hasn't started watching yet. When we run git add, we are moving a file from the untracked state into the staging area. This means Git is now aware of the file, and it will be included in the next commit. After running git init, Git also creates a hidden .git folder inside the project. This folder stores all Git history and tracking information. You should never edit this folder manually. Now, once the files you want are staged, the next step is committing. A commit is like taking a snapshot of your project at a specific moment. It saves the current state of the files you staged. You can think of each commit as a checkpoint in your project's timeline. To create a commit, we use the command git commit your message. The message should describe what the commit contains, something short and meaningful. In the diagram here, each circle represents a commit. As you keep committing changes, Git creates a clear history of how your project evolved. This history helps you move forward, switch between versions, or even merge different branches. So the workflow is simple. Step 1, git init. Step 2, git add. Step 3, git commit. These 3 steps form the foundation of using Git. Step 3, first commit. Now let's commit our staged file with a message. We use git commit first init. This saves file 1.txt in Git history. When I check the status again, git status, Git shows there are no more changes to commit. Only the untracked files remain. This means our commit is successful. To view commit history, I use git log. But for a cleaner view, I type git log one line. This shows our commit in a neat one-line format. Modifying file 1.txt. Now I'm opening file 1.txt and adding some new content. Since we modified it, Git shows this file as modified. Let's check. Git status. File 1.txt is modified but not staged. So I add it again. Git add file 1.txt. Now it moves to the staging area again. Removing a file from staging unstage. Let's say we don't want to commit this modified file right now. To remove it from staging, we use git restore staged file 1.txt. Now check status. Git status. It goes back to modified but not staged. Undo the changes, restore working directory. To completely undo all modifications inside file 1.txt, we use git restore file 1.txt. This only works if the file is not staged. Now when I open the file again, all the changes are gone. Git restored the original content exactly as it was after our last commit. Add new content again plus commit. Now let's add some new content again inside file 1.txt. This time I will add it to staging and commit it. So the commands are git add file 1.txt, git commit m. Some content was added. Let's check the status. Git status. Everything is clean. That means the commit is successful. Final git log check. Now let's check our commit history again. Git log 1 line. Here you can see 2 commits. First init. Some content was added. Even though we restored earlier changes, commits themselves cannot be undone unless we use advanced git commands. So these 2 commits will always remain in our history. And that's it for today's beginner Git tutorial. We covered how to initialize Git, add and commit files, restore changes, view logs, and understand the Git workflow clearly. If you found this helpful, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.